What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering. I hope you have a wonderful day. Hey, I noticed a couple of articles floating around about data security and promises that companies make to their customers that around data security, around whether or not they'll hand your data over to the government, for example. This is Most of my viewers are enlightened, beautiful men and women who definitely just hit the red subscribe button because of that totally authentic compliment I just laid down. And you may already assume this, but it's interesting to actually have some data around it. So, you know those doorbell cameras that basically everyone has now, they're all consolidating now. So I think there's Ring and Nest. These are the two main ones. Well, Amazon's Ring specifically outlines their policy is to never share your data without express permission from the customer. Well, what if I told you that they've handed over customer video surveillance from Ring cameras about a dozen times in the last year alone with no permission from said customers? I'm assuming Nest has a similar percentage of betrayal. This is not new, but it is important for people to know. Technology giant Amazon has now admitted to handing over Ring doorbell camera footage to law enforcement at least 11 times in this year alone already without owners' knowledge. The company was quizzed by U.S. Senator Ed Markey over its cozy relationship with both law enforcement and government agencies and potential reforms. But Amazon's vice president of public policy admitted that there have been 11 instances of content sharing without a search warrant or the owner's permission. Let me read that again. Without a search warrant and without the owner's permission, Amazon is willingly giving your security camera footage to law enforcement. Leave a like on this video, share it right now. If you think that, I mean, it's essentially a great way to get to 1984 levels of video surveillance on citizens. A dozen times already this year, just from Amazon, not Google's Nest, which probably does it too, willingly handing over your data to law enforcement with no warrant and no permission. Now, Brian Huseman, Amazon's vice president of public policy, said that the shipping giant would not permanently agree to never accept financial contributions from policing agencies, never allow immigration enforcement agencies to request Ring recordings, and never participate in police sting operations. Huseman said that Ring can hand over footage in, quote, emergencies, despite advertising that their policy is not to share anything without the permission or a judge intervening. How's that saying go? When you grant the government unprecedented, unparalleled power during an emergency, they'll create emergencies to keep that power. In a statement, he said, so far this year, Ring has provided video to law enforcement in response to a, quote, emergency request. Again, that is without permission and without a warrant. Only 11 times. Only 11 people's civil liberties were violated. Only 11 customers that you promised in their terms of service that you would provide them this protection. Did you not do so? Did you willingly hand it over to law enforcement? Dear Senator Markey, thank you for your June 14th letter. Ring doorbells have always had audio capabilities, which help customers better understand what's happening on their property. Whether at home or away, our customers rely on a microphone and speaker in our doorbells to hear who's at the door and engage in two-way communications, delivery drivers, visitors, and others. As with hundreds of millions of smartphones, video cameras appreciate the ability to review recordings they miss. For example, blah, blah, blah. For customers who subscribe to a Ring Protect plan, recordings are stored in the customer's Ring account in accordance with our standard and correlation and deletion policies. What an interesting thing. Number 7, let's skip down here. Ring has stated it will not share customer information with law enforcement absent of consent, a warrant, or, of course, exigent or emergency circumstances. Now, if you're aware of the exigent circumstances stuff. It's what they use to get into my house. They say, well, somebody sent a text to voice text message, so we now get permission to go into your house without a warrant. So when exactly are circumstances truly exigent? Whenever they want, whenever police want, whenever the government says it is, that's when. How many times has Ring shared users recording with law enforcement because of an exigent or emergency circumstance? So far this year, Ring has provided videos to law enforcement in its response to these requests only 11 times. In each instance, Ring made a, quote, good faith determination that there was an imminent danger requiring the disclosure. Now, I don't know. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the case. Maybe there was some serious, like, there's like a missing person and they're trying to do this and trying to do that. It's still against the law. It's still against what they say is their own policies. More than 1.4 million Ring doorbell cameras were sold in 2020 alone, with Amazon allowing 2,161 police departments across the country to access to neighbors. Data acquired by Gizmodo also shows that Ring customers in Fort Lauderdale largely ignored police requests for footage. Good. Over a period of 5 months in 2018, Fort Lauderdale PD issued 22 requests via Ring's law enforcement portal. The requests saw 319 emails sent to residents asking them to disclose their footage, with a success rate of less than 3.5%. Why would I mean, if you want to access my security footage for your policing, then you should be paying for it. You want to allow me the choice to act like the government's hall monitor for them? Well, I'm not going to pay for that device. I'm not going to pay the monthly subscription service to back up my data. This isn't, look at this. Also, again, this was written the 22nd of June last year. Big Tech complied with 85% of government requests handed over data in the first half of just 2020 alone. How many of those requests were quote unquote exigent circumstances? How many of those requests were, truly emergencies? Certainly, it would be fair to see some data on that, right? Companies like Apple, Google, Facebook, and Microsoft received over 112,000 data requests from local, state, and federal officials, with Facebook accounting for the largest number of disclosures. And again, in 85% of those cases, they gave your data to law enforcement for whatever reason. I don't know the reason, but they probably didn't either. When U.S. law enforcement officials need to cast a wide net for information, they're increasingly turning to vast digital ponds of personal data created by big tech companies via the devices and online services that have hooked billions of people around the world. Data compiled by 4 of the biggest tech companies shows that law enforcement requests for user information, phone calls, texts, emails, photos, shopping histories, driving routes, and more have more than tripled since 2015. And again, they are getting those requests granted by big tech 85% of the time. If you carry a smartphone, you don't have any privacy. If you have a Ring camera on your house, you don't have any privacy. Now, can everyone afford to go out there and install their own personal security stuff? No. Ring cameras are extremely cheap and extremely easy to install. That's the point. So all these millions of people that have these things are unknowingly just contributing to the police state. So because the government can just create whatever reason they want to get your data. We know this. I can tell you this firsthand. They wanted to get into my house. I said, no, I refuse. I do not consent to any searches. And I got told, go sit over there, young man. We're going in your house. We have exigent circumstances. It's pretty scary when you see just how many times your big tech will just hand over your data, no questions asked, no warrant, no consent, no notice to the customer. Shocking stuff. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you click that red subscribe button down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.